How's it going, guys? Preston here with another Demonology video. Um, Today I'm just going to talk about pros and cons about playing Demonology. This is just to kind of, as someone who's main Demonology for the entirety of Legion, and before that, and just been putting a ton of time into Demonology. I've got, I know, I know about this stuff. So, um, I'll start with pros and cons and kind of talk back and forth. Um, and I'll talk about why I play Demonology personally. Um, so, number one, what's great about playing Demonology for me is the mobility. You actually have a lot of mobility as Demonology if you plan ahead. And I think planning ahead is also another thing that I just love as Demonology. Planning ahead and lining up your abilities and your cooldowns and lining everything up is just awesome as Demonology. You know, lining up your Doomguard, your Grimoire with like the perfect amount of minions out with like snapshotted dooms buffed, and then hitting that consumption at just the right time is just so satisfying as Demonology. And that is one of the things I just absolutely love about it. And pulling that off and pushing all this and like shoving it into the face of all those Affliction bastards. I'm just playing. Affliction's great too, and it's fun for its own reasons. But yeah. So that's what I love about Demonology is just being able to line everything up, and you're kind of forcing the stars to align, and then taking advantage of that. And that to me is what I love about Demonology. But what I said again is I like the mobility of Demonology, which might surprise you a bit. But yeah, this is a big con, or I'm sorry, a big pro for Demonology that a lot of people might not consider. Is that currently we're using Shadowy Inspiration as our go-to single target talent, and this gives us access to a playstyle with a ton of instant cast Shadow Bolts that we would be using whether we're movement or not movement. And this kind of gives you the option to kind of do this sort of inch your way where you need to be placed playstyle that I love, because I can kind of, buff my minion, come here, shoot something, maybe summon a couple things, buff them, and then I've got like that, and then I can life tap on the move, buff up, summon something, shoot something, buff, and then move where I need to. I love that, because I can reposition myself while doing my rotation, while losing almost none of my damage. And that, to me, it's a more efficient mobility than, say, Affliction, where you pretty much just refresh your dots, and then pray you don't have to move much further than that. Because refreshing dots is great, but unless like those dots were about to fall off, you're really still losing a lot of damage, because you're not draining, you're not keeping your UAs on the target, you're just refreshing your dots. Another thing you can do on the move, obviously, is Demon Wrath. That's a spell you can literally cast while moving, which is just always awesome. So AoE is great. Another thing is kind of double-edged sword for movement with Demonology is Life Tap. And Soul Link. Soul Link is one of the best. I'll talk about this more, but it basically, in short, makes Life Tap not suck to cast. But you have to Life Tap a lot as Demonology, because you burn your mana way faster than any other warlock spec. Like, a ton faster. But with Soul Link, 20% of all damage you take is taken by your pet too, so Life Tap doesn't hurt you that much. And you're healing from your damage as well. So, like, That's great. So you heal as a demonologist from all your single target damage. You heal yourself and your pet, and you take 20% less damage from all sources all the time, no matter what, unless you don't have a pet out. In which case, why are you playing demonology, right? uh, so this means that if you plan ahead, you can burn all your mana. Movement phase comes, use your instant cast Shadow Bolt, life tap a few times. Movement phases ends, start summoning a bunch of crap, burn it all away again. Instant cast Shadow Bolt into the place you need to go soak a thing. Soak it well because you got 20% damage absorb. Life tap yourself back into the other position. And keep going. You can do this stuff in raids and it's beautiful. It's so great to pull off because you don't lose any damage. You're just managing your resource in a way that allows you to get away with a lot more mobility than you might think. So that's something I absolutely love about Demonology. Another thing I love about Demonology is it's just the playstyle and the way you do damage is great. So this is kind of my personal preference. A lot of people may hate this, but Demonology has a ramp time, and that sucks, right? But at the same time, once you're there, you stay there. So it might suck to see a Demon Hunter or an Arcane Mage or a Destruction Warlock at the start of the fight do insane amounts of damage, and you're just like, I haven't even summoned my stuff yet. What is this? That's fine. They'll have their little bit of, 10 seconds of fun. And then the rest of the fight, you'll be laughing at them. Because they've done their thing. And then it's it. That's it. Their opener is amazing. And then that's it. They're done. Used up. Dry. Throw them out. As Demonology, it takes about, 10, 15 seconds to ramp up to your full damage. And then once you're there, it doesn't stop. Unlike some classes where you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. As a Demonology, you go up, you stay up, and it never goes down. And I love that. I love the sustained. I know how much damage I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing it. And I love that. It's predictable. There's less RNG than other classes and specs. Soul Conduit kind of is a little bit of RNG, which can kind of suck sometimes. But for the most part, you know when you're getting your soul shards. You know when you're going to need to use your life taps. You know when your doom is going to tick with doom shards, so you can plan ahead really well as Demonology. You can do all this stuff, and that's just great. It's great. It all kind of plays into this sort of predictable, sustained playstyle and damage output, and I absolutely love that. The AoE is great too, as long as things are stacked. If they're not stacked, your AoE is not great, but if they are stacked, Handical Dan can just hit like an absolute truck, and then Demon Wrath, can proc Thalkeel's Discord, which just does a ton of damage, and then you're just sitting there with Handical Dan doing burst AoE damage. That's really good if they're stacked, and then also sustain and ramping up in AoE damage, which is great. So Demonology has great AoE without even having to pick up AoE talents. So those are a lot of pros, right? That sounds great. Soul Link again, just amazing. I could go on for days about how awesome Soul Link is. Something that that would one-shot you as Destruction or Affliction. You're still alive as Demonology, and you're just self-healing without even having to think about it because of it. It's almost like playing Affliction, but having all this other stuff you can do as well. And not dying, because you're taking less damage than everyone else. But we'll talk about cons, because personally, I love Demonology, but I know for a fact a lot of people don't love Demonology. A lot of people, they play it, they get confused, they think it's broken, they don't understand it, or they see a lot of these other cons and it just turns them off the spec. And I understand that completely, and you're completely right to think that way. But I'm just going to show, to those of you that might not know, what the cons are. So, for me personally, as someone who mains Demonology, I'm going to say this right now. Gearing up as Demonology sucks. It sucks. itemization is just so bad. It's not well thought out at all by Blizzard. I kind of have to call them out there. It's just it could be handled a lot better. Um, so much of your damage comes from your minions and your imps, which is fine, Except, so for relics, Infernal Furnace increases damage dealt by your wild imps. Your imps do like 60 or 80% of your damage. It's insane how much damage they do compared to all the other factors you have, like your Dreadstalkers, your Ascendance procs, your Shadow Bolt, your Doom Guard, or anything like that, or Doom. Your imps do all of that. All of the damage. Even in an AoE scenario, where you're thinking you're doing a ton of AoE, but then you look at your details, and the imps doing single target are still more damage than just the fact that you summoned a bunch of them is why you did so much damage. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So, like, this relic, just to put in perspective, is worth 5 to 6 item levels, right? Compared to, right? That's kind of how we look at relics. Every other relic is like 2 to 3 or 0, right? For defensives. So that means that relic is at least double the value of any other relic trait on your weapon, which is terrible. Even these new ones, which is like increases the damage of your main pet. Your main pet, the one you can control. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's that. The other thing that sucks is your legendaries. You're very dependent on having your legendaries, the correct legendaries, more so than Affliction. Destruction is also dependent, but Affliction you can kind of run with whatever, and you're great. You do your damage anyway. It's honestly because their legendaries are just kind of garbage, like. There's not really any legendaries that make Unstable Affliction do a ton more damage than... I mean, not that it needs it, but, you know what I mean? But yeah, so, like, you really have to run Recruitment Ritual with something else, like Wilfrids or Wakeners or something like that. I prefer Wilfrids, but, another thing that sucks about Recruitment Ritual is, like, you're super dependent on having it. It doesn't have your perfect stats on it, which sucks right away. Another thing, it takes up a tier slot, which sucks for a bajillion reasons. The other thing is haste. So that's a reason it sucks to gear up. Another reason it sucks to gear up. Haste, as Demonology, is about double in value over intellect, which means that screw item level. If it doesn't have enough haste, throw it in the trash. And you need 4 set currently. I've been doing some testing on PTR for the new 4 set. I don't know if it's going to be as valuable as this current 4 set, but not like you're going to have a choice when it comes to getting the better tier, right? But we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. So yeah, gearing up as the Demonology sucks for like a billion reasons. The other thing that kind of sucks is there's a few bugs with Demonology. Like sometimes your Dreadstalkers hit the wrong thing. And they still haven't fixed that. It's been in there since launch, and they still haven't fixed it. You can't target swap very well as Demonology because Blizzard doesn't give you control over. You summon 30 minions, and they're all attacking that thing, and then it's like, okay, guys, switch to Maiden. Sorry, I can't. Not really. That's when I just use Consumption on Maiden, and that usually burns the shield. But you see what I mean? Like, you can't tell all your imps to go, okay, I'll target that. In my opinion, they should just follow whatever your main pet attacks, but that'd be complicated, right? Anyway, yeah. So you've got that life tap, which is a double-edged sword. You got a lot of cons, in my opinion, a lot of pros and cons to playing Demonology. Hopefully this video has been helpful. And hopefully you guys found some good information out there. And I've noticed a lot of people subscribing to my channel, which is awesome. I didn't really expect that when I threw out my Demonology guides. I just noticed there was kind of not very good guides out there. and those people who were making the guides mained other specs. So it just, I don't know, it felt like something I wanted to do, and it's been great. You guys have been subscribing. I've seen you guys commenting on my videos. It's been really cool, really awesome. Um, but yeah, so I just figured I'd make another one talking about pros and cons. I'll be talking about the four set, the new four sets coming up in the next video. But in the meantime, catch you guys later. Keep on summoning. Bye.